on what is now day 6. I skipped day 5. I did a 0 at Bear's Den Hostel. Decided it was such a nice place to stay. I wanted to stay one more night. And I was tired. There's Yoga Joe, the guy who gave a couple hikers a ride the other day, including myself, and now
gave you a new name.
Gave me a new name called Green Wabbit instead of Green Rabbit. I am being dropped off at the same place now and heading south again for day 6 of an 8-day trek. We'll see you soon. Realized as soon as Yoga Joe was driving away that I had been feeling kind of like when we went to the store for me to grab some supplies and then traveled over here to this same point that he dropped me off the other day to do a northbound hike back into Bear's Den. I'd been feeling this whole time as we're driving around and chatting like I'm missing something, but I'm like, okay, well, I double checked all of the flat spaces in the hostel that I could have possibly left something sitting. Double checked the refrigerator. As far as I was aware, I had everything, but I just kept feeling like I was missing something. And I'm like, well, I don't know. What could it possibly be? And I kept putting the thought out of my mind because it's like, well, you know, you've checked and double checked, and I checked and double checked my bag to make sure I had all the most important things I could think of, and everything was there, you know, before leaving the hostel. And you know, I get dropped off, and I got a few feet down the path, just a slight decline downhill or descend, and I hear Yoga Joe pulling away, and no more do I hear the car pulling away. And I go to take a step forward where instinctively I was going to put my hand forward with the pole to balance myself, and there's no pole in my hand, and I'm like, Sugarfoot! That's what I forgot at the hostel, was my daggone trekking poles. So I guess I'm on my own for getting rid of spider webs and that whole business of using them, but I'm on my own for balance, or you know, anything I want to try and balance myself out by using them. It does help a little bit with the weight to have them, but I've been kind of teetering anyways on whether they're a necessity or not, because that's, you know, that's an extra thing you got to carry. My hands get sore using them, you know, and there are a lot of areas where I find myself just kind of carrying them Charlie Chaplin style in front of me with my two hands, and a lot of areas where, you know, I go to use it and it sinks into a spot and gets stuck, you know, like say in between two rocks or whatever, and you gotta kind of turn around and yank it back out of there, and you know, it messes up your pace sometimes to use them. And so there are some times though when trekking poles come in very handy, specifically downhills or uphills. I got about, I think it's less than 4 miles left of the roller coaster today. So, you know, there are some areas where it's nice to use the pole to test the ground in front of you. Like, say for example, when you're walking over a stream or a swamp, and you don't know for sure if the spot you're about to step on is really squishy. and you're gonna sink in, or if maybe the rock you're about to step on could be a loose rock, you know, so they're a nice thing to use as like a tester to, yeah, look at these rocks I'm doing now, as a tester to see your grounding, what, you know, what kind of ground you're dealing with, or you know, are you going to rock back and forth, you're going to sink in, whatnot. So there are times when it's good for that, and then you know, the balancing that it helps you to do. Sometimes I use them both, going forward uphill, or you know, kind of holding them and doing like a pull through, you know, like this kind of motion, going downhill or uphill. It just depends, you know. I don't know, there are hikers who hike without them, so for the next few days we're gonna find out if we need them or not, because I'm not gonna have them. So I'm gonna have to set up another ride back up to Bear's Den, but you know, in the meantime, you know, they lock their doors between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. So the first I'm going to be able to call them to let them know that they're there. They're in the bunkhouse. The guy might have seen them already anyway. But by the time I'm going to be able to inform them, hey, I'm the one who left those red trekking poles behind. It's going to be 5 o'clock tonight, and I'm not going to waste a whole day going back in the same direction I've already been, and end up spending a fourth night at Bear's Den. Although it is a nice place, I'm not really trying to repeat steps on the trail, because I want to be able to do the whole trail at some point in life. Like I said the other day, I like to have a 5-year goal to excuse me, just wiping some sweat off, to get through the entire thing. And I think that's a reasonable goal. You know, the only thing barring me from being able to hit that goal would be, you know, finances, and I guess two things would be location, you know, because if I end up going back and living in Wisconsin again, which I haven't decided what I'm gonna do yet, I'm calling it my homeless by choice right now. I don't have any specific plans. The job I had, I'm like 95% sure I can go back to. In fact, I had a conversation with my supervisor and with one of the HR people about it, and you know, and I've got a year to make up my mind of what I'm going to do with my, what do they call it? It's not a 401k, it's like a 403b or something like that. So I've got some funds in that. All right, where are we going, folks, here? Okay, I'm gonna have to figure out my direction, but I'll just finish this thought here and then sign out. Excuse me. So anyways, the point is, I don't know for sure if I'm gonna go back and live in Wisconsin or find an area out here. Harper's Ferry is a place, you know, that I've really kind of taken a liking to, of everything that I've visited so far. So who knows what's in store. But anyways, yeah, we'll have to see what happens. Okay, there's a blaze. It's a worn out blaze, but it's a blaze. But this is what looks like the end of the trail. See this rock wall here. I know that there's nothing over here they want you to climb. Oh, okay, so I'm wrong. There's a way to do it. All right, so I don't even have to shut it off to figure it out now. Okay, so there's a way around it. It just doesn't look like trail right there. sometimes you run into these things where you don't know for sure, all right, which way is it I'm supposed to go here, you know? And you always figure it out. Sometimes I feel a little silly having to spend so much time trying to figure it out, because then it becomes obvious, you know, afterwards. See, like right here, I'd be probably using my poles because I'm coming down sort of a steep hill with very little places to put my toe box or heel or whatever to grab, you know, my place. Like right here, for example, you can do this and I'm good, but you know, when you got certain areas you don't, never mind. Anyways, signing out for now, but again, we're on day 6, an 8-day trek. Day 5 was a rest day, relaxation, meditation. Had a great time staying at that bear's den, and I just didn't really want to leave there yet, and I was able to use the day of rest on my legs. I took about a 4-mile walk, just kind of up and down and around the property and on the trail in that area, and you know, got a little exercise, but was not in a position to feel like I had to get somewhere within a certain amount of time or whatever. As a matter of fact, today is gonna be like that. I'm tenting somewhere no matter what, because I believe it's just it's less than 3 miles to the next shelter. It's about noon here when I'm getting started, and I am absolutely sure I can do more than 3 miles. You know, we'll see when we get around that spot. Who knows how tired I'm gonna be after a day off and no poles. Who knows? Maybe I'll feel better not having poles. And it being quite warm today. Today is expected to get into the high 90s. Feels like about, I'm guessing around 85 to 90, or you know, low 90s. High 80s, low 90s today. I hear some water ahead. I'm gonna be hopefully splashing around in a brook. Anyway, signing out for now. Finish my thought. Today is a day where I'm gonna be tenting wherever. Because of the fact that the next tent site is, I think, less than a mile, and the next shelter is like 3 miles. So I'd like to go a little further than that. I'd like to get for sure 15 miles within 2 days. Otherwise, I'm going to have a second night of tenting wherever, and I'd like to either stay in a shelter or find a tent site to tent at. And so what's looking up ahead is kind of, according to the Gut Hooks app, is kind of about maybe 20-ish miles of like not a whole heck of a lot of anything specific to get to. So you know, if I do 15 miles anytime between today and tomorrow, that'd put me in a shelter tomorrow night. But if I do 3 miles today to the shelter in 3 miles, that's going to leave me with 12 miles for tomorrow, which for me, old and slow and out of shape and inexperienced as I am, I don't want to, you know, take on that kind of a day without a little bit more practice. So I had one hiker tell me that you don't hit 10 miles until a couple of weeks. You know, I'm not sure if that's accurate, but you know, that was his perspective, and kind of made sense to me that might be what the deal is for myself. So anyways, signing out again. Just noticed up ahead here we got another, I think it was day 1. I put some pictures up. I didn't say anything on the video about what I found, but a tree attached to a rock that was down. This tree is still standing, but doesn't look like it has any live branches left on it. But see how it's grown itself around this rock? And kind of an interesting rock at that. It's like two rocks together, but it is just one rock. It's kind of neat. Anyway, let's see here, what time is it? 1:30, so been walking about an hour and a half. Sweated a gallon of sweat. No, it is pretty warm, but you wipe yourself off with the hanky once in a while and you're good. And just kind of trying to decide my next few days here. I have a few different options. Rod Hollow Shelter is 2.5 miles ahead. I mean, it's, you know, the end of the roller coaster. You might want to celebrate that by staying in a shelter versus a tent site some random amount down the road from there. And the only thing is, Rod Hollow has been rumored to have a couple of copperheads living at it. So, do I want to take that chance? So, I don't know. We'll see. If it's not Rod Hollow Shelter, myself and my pace and my typical mileage, I'm just going to be tenting it somewhere. So that's kind of what I thought I'd be doing anyways, is tenting it somewhere. I kind of planned it that way. But, I don't know. We'll see what happens. So, alright. Headed uphill some more. Check back later. Alright, it's about 2:30. Just taking a little bit of a shot of what I'm going to go through right now. It's hard to put your foot anywhere really because of the rocks and more rocks. But at the same time as it looks treacherous when you look ahead, you get so far with it and it's like, oh, okay, well, I went that far. It's not that bad after all. But right now, we're adding water to the mix. So, it might be a little bit slippery. It is a little bit slippery. But, I can almost hear water ahead. I'm not really sure. I mean, it's been wet-ish for a while. And here there's standing water, and it hasn't rained since Tuesday anywhere in this area. So therefore, I think we gotta be getting close to the brook. That last stream that I was about to cross before I went off cam ended up being one with a bridge going across it, so I didn't get to touch the water after all. This next one here where I get to touch the water, I hope. I'm gonna be washing my face in it. I hope this isn't what they mean here, because there's nothing much for flow here. No, I do hear it ahead. Okay, so just crossing a wet, rocky area. Where it's not rocky, it's muddy. Where it's not muddy, it's rocky. So, anyway, just kind of going through the motions today. I'm not really totally feeling the hike, but I'm enjoying the outdoor nature. So, a little bit of positive, a little bit of negative going on here, but nothing is so overwhelming that I feel like I can't handle it, or like I'm gonna, you know, break in half or something. I had some serious doubts when I was going through that approach trail that I would be able to get out alive, you know. I mean, I knew I would, but yet it was like, okay, here's the water. You know, several times I felt like I will not be able to go another step here. And that's a real feeling of desperation when you feel like, okay, I can't go any further. Yeah, I'm not going to do this stream crossing here with the phone in my hand because I'd be very likely to drop it and very likely to fall. And again, no poles to test out any spots. But this is a nice little rippling brook here. Not a lot of moving water in the spot where I'm getting to, possibly up ahead. I might get to that area. If you can see that the water's moving faster down there. But signing out for now. This is cool. I don't know how to describe, other than it's like sort of a feeling of an enchanted forest. I don't know what all these sticks are for, probably to cover up that muddy spot I'm going around. But when I look ahead, it just kind of looks like I'm in just this, like, I'm on a journey into an enchanted forest. It's just kind of cool. Seriously, buttheads, there is garbage, bottles, garbage, bottles. Like, there's too much of a thicket in there for me to go in there and get that, and I don't really have the room to carry that all, or I'd pack that out. I feel kind of guilty passing it by. You know, people, for real, who do you think comes through the entire earth and cleans up after you? Guess what? The answer is nobody. Nobody can go through the entire earth and just clean up after you everywhere you might decide to leave your trash. That's my PSA of the day. Don't be litterers. Don't be buttheads. Seriously, pick up your garbage. There's no reason for that. Okay, soapbox over. Okay, y'all. I have just had the scariest moment of this entire situation so far, of anything to do with the trail. See that marking right there? It is a blessing to see that marking. I was going for a long ways from that last brook down there going, this looks like a trail, walking the trail, right? It is a trail, it was a trail. Walking and thinking, you know, they probably should mark this area a little bit, and kind of just grumbling about it more than anything, but I'm continuing on because I'm thinking I'm on the trail, because I was on a trail. And all of a sudden I get to a certain point that looks like the ending of the trail. And I'm like, well, I better just do a double check and see where I'm at here. See which direction. I look all around. No white marks anywhere. No white blazes anywhere. Had been looking for a white blaze for quite some time and not seeing one. I don't know why I didn't go back to the creek, but I just, kept thinking I was good. And when I get to this ending, I'm like, oh, that's cute. So I pull out the Gut Hooks app, which luckily, thankfully, praise the Lord, it has GPS even when you're in airplane mode or out of range. And I look at the GPS on this app and it's like nowhere near. Just taking a shot of a mushroom for Margaret. I don't know if that took a shot or not. Anyways, I'm like way off trail. I mean way off. Like, I don't know, 2 to 3/10 of a mile. I don't know how far back. Some of it was sketch. Wasn't like looking exactly trail-like. So I didn't trust myself, I guess, to retrace my steps completely. So I just have to head in the direction of the trail from where I was at. So first of all, you have an arrow where you are, and you have to figure out which direction the arrow is pointing when you move. And so you have to kind of like expand the view to tell for sure where you're, that you're following the arrow correctly. And I'm not kidding, it was straight uphill. There were several parts where I almost slid down. There were several parts where I started to slide down. There were several parts where I grab a hold of what seemed to be a stable, small little tree, and it's a dead tree, and I pull it out of the ground. I'm praying and I'm starting to freak out, and I just keep following the arrow, running through thorns and spider webs like crazy, just, teetering back and forth with the direction thing, trying to use safe spots to climb straight uphill with, trees to grab onto or rocks to step on or big rocks to grab onto or whatever. Anyways, that was scary as all get out, folks. But I made it, and I'm back on trail, and that white blaze was a welcome appearance. I don't know. Signing out for now. Yep, folks, this is the trail. It's just a few steps this way, but it's just to give anybody an idea who has never done it before or never intends to do it, or who wonders why I don't do this or don't do that. This is how challenging it gets, folks. This is how challenging it gets. These last 6 days, I have been able to really come to appreciate people who do through hikes, people who do large section hikes, people who do any kind of hiking. Even day hikers have amazed me at some of the stuff that they'll go through just to get a day hike in. I shouldn't say just to get a day hike in, it's to get sights in and whatnot, but seriously, folks, anybody who says, why didn't you do this, or why didn't you do that, or why don't you do this, or don't you do that, to anybody for any reason whatsoever, just don't. You don't know what anybody goes through. That's all. Guys, I almost missed it, and then I looked ahead and something told me to look behind, and look at what I almost missed. Hiker warning, you are about to enter the roller coaster built and maintained by the trail boss and his crew of volunteers. Have a great ride, and we will see you at the Blackburn Trail Center. Guys, this is the end of the roller coaster. Woohoo! Celebrate, celebrate. All right. So it really wasn't, wow, this is cool here. I don't know what, again, it's like Enchanted Forest or something. Anyway, I really don't believe that the south end of the coaster, going south, is very difficult, other than maybe the part of staying on trail. By the way, I forgot to mention earlier when I was headed directly uphill to get back on trail that a good part of that was climbing over a rock wall, which I don't know what that was all about. Maybe it was an older part of the trail. Maybe I was you know, where it had been rerouted at some point. Ooh, this is a little wobbly. You know, maybe that rock wall was there. There's no way that was Fisher's Hill Loop Trail. We're gonna skip that. There's no way that those rocks were the way they were. I probably, naturally, I mean, I probably should have taken a couple of shots of it, but I was just so worried about climbing over it, getting back on trail, but also worried about climbing over it because there's been a lot of talk about copperheads in this area, and they tend to live in rocks. So I was like, oh, this is wobbly too. I was like, no way do I want to climb over this huge mound of, I mean, and it went for a long time. I would have not been able to get to either end of it very easily. And I had already climbed, you know, probably about halfway back up to the trail then by that point, and wasn't sure I could even find my way back. So I had really no choice but to climb that rock wall, but boy, I was scared because that would be the last thing I'd need, lost in the woods and bitten by a copperhead. Anyway, so we have exited the roller coaster and we are done with what I'm told is one of the most difficult sections on the entire trail. So I can knock that off my list of sections that I've done. Muddy, muddy, muddy. And celebrate that. So, about, I forget, I think the south end of the trail was maybe a half mile from Rod Hollow Shelter. I wasn't going to stay at Rod Hollow Shelter because it was only 3 miles in today. 3.2 or whatever it was. But, you know, with that extra stint of having been lost and that extra straight uphill climb, I'm pretty exhausted, both mentally and physically. I mean, I feel like I could walk on quite a ways, but I want my reward tonight, and that would be sleeping in a shelter, and I know I can't make it as far as the next one, so I'm going to be skipping the tenting idea, traveling further on. Also, it is 4:30, and even though it is not in the wow, is it muddy here? Not in the forecast to rain today, I keep hearing what really sounds like thunder, and it is a little dark. So, you know, shelter it is. And wherever I'm able to get to tomorrow, you know, I'll calculate from there if I'm taking the next parking spot, and even if it's getting me there Wednesday, road access, I mean, even if it gets me there Wednesday and I gotta, you know, spend the night somewhere in a tent waiting for my ride on Thursday, or, you know, what have you, I will not force myself to go another, I think it's 15 miles to the next one after that. So anyways, gonna put the phone away, about to cross the stream, probably gonna splash some water on my face again because this looks nice and refreshing, and we'll see you in about a half a mile. Side trail to Rod Hollow Shelter. As you can see, the marks on a side trail are blue instead of white. I don't know if I covered that earlier or not, but we'll follow the blue marks to the shelter, and that is where we will spend the night tonight. Kind of hoping that somebody else comes in, but I have a feeling I'm going to be by myself tonight. So let's just hope that that rumor about the copperheads living in here is you know, either untrue or partially untrue, or that they've moved on, or yucky. Or that they've moved on and don't bother me, especially if I am here by myself tonight. So anyways, on this side trail there's another blue blaze. Looks to be like I'm almost here, and it does appear to be getting lighter out again, so maybe it isn't going to rain here after all. I don't know, but I still keep hearing the thunder, and you know, it's not that I'm afraid of a little rain or getting wet, but I've had kind of a day already and don't really want to. Here's the spring. Don't really want to deal with any other annoyances, you know, so gonna spend the night here and worry about miles tomorrow, where I'm headed next and whatnot. All right, it looks like I gotta cross over a little bit of water because those rocks look too sketchy, and that tree over there looks too sketchy. So I'm just gonna cross right here where it's real shallow, and we're gonna be closer to the shelter. There's another blue blaze. Ooh, mud, 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 slippery mud. Woo, slippery feet now. All right, there is what appears to be a tent site with fire pit, and looks like the path continues. I'm probably going to come back down to that spring a little bit later and get some water to heat up and wash up with. You know, just left the shower, left the hostel last night nice and clean, but after the day I had today, I feel pretty sweated up. Here's another little tiny stream. Looks pretty muddy. So I'm not going to try and dip any water out of that one. The other one's not far back. So anyways, got my water filter, so I'm not worried about drinking water if I should need any, which I'm pretty sure I still have some anyway, about a liter and a half at least probably. So anyway, I'm gonna shut this down for now while I figure out exactly where the shelter is, because this trail continues on and I haven't seen a blue blaze in a minute. Shelter here. This doesn't look nearly as fancy as any of the others I've spent the night at so far. But, well, maybe. A little porched area there. Cow dang spider webs. There's about enough of them today. I see the rock wall now that if there are copperheads in there, that's where they'd be living. Oh, no I don't. I see a fire pit. I am really not sure what's up with that. But anyways, let's see here. I don't know if there's a bear pole or any kind of pulley system here. Don't really see one offhand. Oh, this one's got like a bunk in it. Kind of cool, I guess. Like I said, I was kind of hoping for somebody else to spend the night along with, but it looks like I'm on my own this time, at least so far. So there's the covered picnic area and a fire pit with people's garbage they left in there. Jeez. And another fire pit and the shelter, which you probably can't tell, has a bunk. Come up a little bit closer so you can see the bunk. And there it is. So maybe I may want, and there's the logbook, I may want to spend the night up on the bunk just for the sheer factor of not knowing where in the heck those copperheads are or like to be. So anyway, this is what we got here. This is tonight's night, or tonight's sleeping place. I'm gonna shut her down for now and see if I can get anybody on the phone. People wanted me to check in with them tonight. All right, have a good night. All right, so here I am in the shelter. I've been here less than 5 minutes, and it's raining. So glad I made it to shelter before the rain. I didn't really feel like dealing with that on top of everything else today. So, yucky spiders living in here. Hopefully he keeps the bugs away. I might just be sleeping in my tent in the shelter tonight. Just because. It's not what I call fun. Maybe it will be. It might be fun. Correction. It is not raining, it is pouring. I don't know if the old man is snoring or not, but it is pouring. Thought I'd do a quick clip here to share what I'm eating for dinner. This is sweet and spicy tuna in the pack. And Idahoan baby reds mashed potatoes. And here it is. Doesn't look very appetizing, but it's actually quite good. Yummy, yummy.